Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of Chrysalis Effect. I am Monique White of Triumph Services, your host, and here in the Chrysalis Effect, we are transforming mind, money, and manifestations. And today, in this episode, we are going to continue the conversation with expert Susan McVea of Susan McVea Consulting about sales. Susan was telling us about how we have everything that we need to sell. Susan helps professionals sell with ease without the sleaze. So without further ado, let's continue on the discussion about sales.
You are selling all day long. All day long. Because if you are making a decision to do something, you have just sold yourself, right? And sometimes, think about last night's dinner. Who made the decision? Did you go out? Did you stay in? Who got to decide what dinner was? How many times do you have that conversation? What do you want for dinner? I don't know. You decide. Okay, well, that person now is in charge. They're serving you to say, okay, what should we eat? And they are now deciding. So sales is really about serving 100%. But in a sales conversation, in that type of relationship, somebody has to be the leader. Mm-hmm. And if you're not the leader as a business owner, then your clients, your customers, your potential customers and clients are constantly going to be taking over with their agenda. And if you've been in a conversation where this has happened, where you thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to go in, I'm going to serve them, they're going to become a client, and then the leadership changes, the dynamic of leadership changes in the conversation. And we've all been in a situation like that where suddenly that person comes in and just, and you go, what just happened? Like, it's like a tornado just blew through. And I guarantee you, anytime that this happens, you will never hear a yes. It's very unlikely because you're not in charge. So sales is about serving, but it's also about leadership. And ultimately, it's about guiding to a decision. And that's why we're selling all day long, every day. If you are a parent, which Monique, you and I just had this conversation at the beginning, when you are negotiating with your kiddo, like who's going to get out the door, what time you're going to get out the door, who's winning that battle? Because I'm going to tell you, someone is either going to be sold on the outcome or you're the one selling on the outcome that you want, right? And when we think about it in this way, you realize you sell all day long. You're either selling or you're in a sales process or something similar to that, because it's really just about guiding decisions. And sometimes we abdicate our ownership, right? Because we don't really care. And we just, you decide for me, like in that case of dinner. Well, you decide. Okay, fine. And then we realize, oh no, I have some objections. No, I don't want to eat that. No, I don't want to eat that. No, I don't want to eat that. And it's like, okay, then we're coming back into a conversation, right? To decide, well, wait, so you do care? Because that's my husband's complaint all the time. Wait, don't tell me I don't care because I know better. And so we have to have a conversation, right? And so now that's really a sales process where we're coming to an agreement of what is it that we both want to eat and make in order to be able to have a pleasant evening, which includes food.
Right. I never thought of it that way, as it being a sales process. But again, it's just when you shift that perspective, and now that you talk through it, you're absolutely correct. It's the process itself. I think when you add the word sales to it, there's this automatic connotation that people get in their head, and there's always that resistance comes up, particularly with females. Particularly with females. So, but when you flip that and change that word to serve, then the perspective changes. Because the example you just gave, I never really thought of, especially the school thing. As moms, everybody can relate to the school thing. So
the struggle is real.
I'm telling you. But I love that you said, serving, leadership, and then guiding to an outcome. those three things. It's serving, it's leadership, it's guiding. Because how often do you think of sales, though, as leadership?
Yeah, I'd say that most people don't, which is why they are ill prepared, why they allow, and again, women have a desire to be liked and accepted.
Mhm.
And there's an inherent rejection component that comes into sales, right? It does feel uncomfortable because you have to kind of put yourself out there. And that's why I said earlier that when you're a giver and you get caught in this giving loop and you never are able to receive, it means that you are addicted to just giving. And I
Mhm.
say this as, I'm calling the kettle black because I was there. And when you get into this loop of I just give and I give, it's hard to ask. It makes you feel uncomfortable because you're wondering, what if they say no? Right? Do they not like me? It brings up all of these other feelings that aren't
Exactly.
anything to do with the person in front of you. And asking for money can trigger all kinds of things because usually what happens with a sale? Money,
Mhm.
right? And I know that we're going to talk a little bit about money as well because it gets uncomfortable. And so your all of the stories, all of the beliefs, all of the restrictions that you may have put on around money and what it means to have money or not have money, what you have to do in order to gain money or earn money. And a lot of times, especially with the women that I work with who are experts, like highly qualified at what they do, it almost feels like highway robbery for them to charge because it's so easy. They just think, well, gosh, I mean, it's either a God given talent, a natural gift they were born with, or they've worked so hard at it that at this point, they kind of forget that they've worked hard. It's so easy that they're
Mhm.
kind of like, well, it takes me 5 minutes. Why would somebody pay me for that? But you forget, because I mean, I can diagnose within the span of about 10 minutes now. Like if you give me enough details, once I have the information, I could figure out within about 10 minutes exactly where you're going wrong and how to fix that. But the reason why I can do that is because I've been practicing this craft for 20 plus years, right?
Right.
25, 26 years now. And so as a result, you're not paying me for 10 minutes. You're paying me for the wisdom and the experience and the knowledge gained and the bumps and bruises along the way of all the time, the investments, the money and effort and energy, the heartache, the beatings sometimes, right? Because I mean, sometimes you get punished for the things that you've done incorrectly. All of that comes into play. And so that's what you're actually paying for. The fact that I've done all this work so that you don't have to. And then I can teach you that in a very short order of time. You're paying for the shortcut, you're paying for the result. And so, really, at the end of the day, the time shouldn't matter. But we get trapped, especially if you are coming from more of a employee background, like I did,
Mhm.
it gets hard to escape from that time equals money. And we even say it, right? Time equals money. So you're thinking, well, if time is money, then I need to spend more time to make more money. No, my dear, you actually could, we do quantum leaps, right? And so what if you could actually shorten the timeline because you're so good and gifted at what you do that there's an acceleration that's placed upon you, right? And that for me comes from the Lord. And so when we know that you've already done the work, right? You've practiced, you've mastered, but then there's also sometimes there's that extra bit of magic sauce, that's that secret oomph, right? That's supernatural that you just cannot explain. And it's like, I don't even know why I know these things, but I just do. And boom, why are you being punished for something that you're naturally gifted at or unnaturally gifted at, but have come by it anyways?
Right. Right. Well, I really think as women, and it's not necessarily always in the employee context, but I think also culturally, that even in our society, we tend to downplay our experience and our expertise. We tend to step back. And what happens is, and tell me if you agree with this, because we tend to do that, we don't value ourselves, so others don't value what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a societal standpoint, I mean, until recently, women were chattel, were property of, guess who? The man, right?
Mhm.
And it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago that women didn't have the right to vote. Women still don't make as much as men. Marginalized women even more so. And so if there's cultural things or societal things, there's gender things, right? Gender biases that can definitely play into this. And so we're being bombarded by all of these messages that consciously you may be like, oh, no, I don't believe in all this. But your subconscious and the way that you just have interpreted it and perceived all of these messages, they have made an impact. And you may not even realize how insidious some of these things are, because we have to kind of unlearn some of these habits and some of these beliefs that don't belong to us, that don't serve us moving forward. And so I absolutely agree with you, Monique, that women have different things than men. It's why when I teach a man and a woman the same thing, generally speaking, and again, there's always exceptions, but generally speaking, men don't have the same kinds of mindset issues. They don't struggle with the same kinds of self-worth. Like if I tell a man, double your prices, and I tell a woman the same thing, the woman will like just hem and haw, like, oh my God, how could I do that? Like, oh, what would that look like? And she's just going to come up with all kinds of excuses. And the man, he may struggle, especially a heart-centered man, may struggle, but once he kind of, yeah, okay, fine. And off to the races he goes.
Right. So how does your intuition play into all that? Because you mentioned, you do things and you don't really think about it, and because it's so easy, or it just comes to you and you can do it, you tend to diminish the value of it. But where is that intuition, that talent, that skill? Because we all know we all have innate talent, skills, and abilities that the Father has given us. How does that play into the sales process?
Yeah, so I teach frameworks and principles, and I think if you're listening right now, I mean, the fact that you're a master at your craft, you probably also teach principles and like foundational pieces. And sometimes that's not sexy, to be honest, because I'm going to tell you, if I had $1 for everybody who asked me, oh, how do I get more clients on YouTube, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on TikTok? And yes, each platform is unique, but the foundational piece is really about, do you know how to talk to your audience? Do you know what is going to trigger them to buy, right? So really thinking about you and your business, like what is it that you want to actually do? So I mean, I just got off a call with one of my team members and I said, I'm presenting this week and it's about wealth. And while that's my background coming from finance and I have an ebook on it, it's not really like, it's not directly part of sales per se. It's part of my mission because I want to see more female millionaires in the world. And I know that in order to do that, you have to have an abundance mindset. You have to know the principles of how to build wealth, but it's not typically baked into my sales and my sales process or my sales training. And as we were brainstorming, I said, well, it doesn't make sense for me to create something just to be able to quote unquote sell to them, right? I mean, yes, I know the drill. I mean, this is what I teach my clients on. And as I sat there and I thought, I just want this to be fun. I want this to be easy. I want to just serve the people. And if they want to connect with me, like I'm just going to give a whole bunch of value in the 30 or 40 minutes that I'm going to be presenting and the 10 or 15 minutes for Q&A. I mean, to purchase an ebook for $25 seems like a no-brainer to me. So I'm just going to allow them to have that opportunity. And for those that aren't ready yet, let's just make it easy. I'm not going to even do an opt-in. I'm not going to get them as a lead right now. At this point, it's totally fine. And I know, and I mean, I tell my clients to do certain things, but then we also need to add on our piece, right? Because if I actually built an opt-in page, if I stressed out my team right now to figure out what could we create, what does it need to be, I need to create an opt-in page, we need to design the thing, we need to test the thing, I need to put in at least one email. It's happening in 2 days. So that's a whole lot of work. And
Mhm.
I don't even know, does it even make sense to do so? And could I serve them in a different way? And so what we decided was, I'm just going to get them to send me a message on Instagram, because if I can have a conversation with somebody, I know I can serve them. And I don't know if I have something already created, but I know that because of my level of expertise and because this is a 20-year career that I did in corporate finance, specifically helping people build their wealth, that if I needed to create a quick audio or a video, I could do it then. No harm, no foul. And that's how I can make it easy. But I've adapted a process, which, so I'm going to walk you through, like, here's what I would teach a client, right? To map
Mhm.
them through and say, okay, if you're going to do this, what is your intention, right? So is it to create sales? Is it to do lead generation? Is it both? Is it for exposure because you want to gain visibility and reach and be in front of more people? And this particular person has your ideal clients and you want to be able to build a relationship with her, maybe to collaborate. And so this is more about spreading goodwill, so that it would be like, okay, Monique, you're having this part. I want to be able to serve you. I want to be able to serve your community. And this might be something that we can collaborate on down the road. So maybe it's not as important for us to do that lead generation. But if at the very least, usually for clients, they want to do two things. They want to use events or podcasts to be able to create impact and exposure, to get in front of more people so that they can grow their audience. And as a result, they also need to be able to grow their list and to gain more leads or subscribers. So typically, I would ask them to at least have something for a lead magnet. Now, in this case, let's just assume, like, because this whole scenario literally is playing out right now. So we have a live example. So if I was my own client, what I would say is, okay, 2 days, probably going to stress you out. I'd rather that you be prepared for the event itself. So let's do this instead, where you have kind of maybe let's brainstorm 1, 2, or 3 ideas that could be a really good lead magnet after. It might just be as simple as, if you want the slides, if you're going to do a slideshow, if you want the slides from this event, just send me a message on Instagram and I will send you those slides. Easy, right? Then the thing that you already created for the actual event itself is your lead magnet. Instead of creating an opt-in page, you just get people to send you a message. And then that way you're going to either send them a link, get their email so that you can add them to your list. Again, check your jurisdiction. I'm in Canada, so for me, that doesn't work. I have to have an opt-in page where they have to self-select and give me permission for the double opt-in. But it could be as simple as that. So it doesn't have to be complicated. And that way, people are interested, they're engaged, and you're still having a connection point for them to turn into a conversation and ultimately a conversion, which is really the 3 C's framework that I teach my clients on.
Okay. So we have the intention and the 3 C's framework that you mentioned, But you made it so easy. But you made it so easy. But and at the root of it all, as you're speaking, and you're mentioning serving, and you're talking about giving, but you also have to receive on the other end of it, which is the whole reason why we're all in business. But it all centers in and all comes down to mindset. Following your intuition all comes down to mindset, and dealing with those limiting beliefs that you mentioned earlier. So that being said, what are some common pitfalls that you see?
As it relates to mindset, Monique, for sales?
As it relates to intuitive sales.
I think the biggest one that I would say is that you're not actually listening to your intuition, right? Because I think sometimes, because the only person who actually knows 100% of your business is you. And no matter how much I know about sales and selling and building businesses, if you don't tell me what's going on for you, and yes, I mean, I use the gift that Holy Spirit gives to me. I usually know, I have a sense of what's going on. but I only have a sense. I don't know the 100% picture. Only you do. And so if you don't share the pertinent things that you're kind of bumping up against or that are triggering you or that you're just feeling don't fit and you're forcing yourself, it's going to be that, round peg in a square hole sort of situation where the more you try to jam yourself to do the thing, the harder and harder and harder it gets, and the less results you're going to see. And then it's a virtuous circle in that it's like you get into this vicious cycle of try and fail and try and fail and try and fail, and you can't get out because now you're scared to keep trying because you know that you're going to keep failing. So you expect it to happen and you can't figure it out. And usually what it does is that it makes you so gun shy about doing anything that it's almost like you can't start. And that's a shock response, right? Like when you get into an adrenaline response, it's freeze, flight, or flee. And a lot of times you do nothing because you're like, what do I do? Everything that I've done to this point isn't working. You almost lose sight of yourself. You can't hear your intuition. You can't really hear the signs. And you don't even know what it is that you want anymore. And I think instead of trying to bulldoze your way through, and I would say that there's a difference between pressing through and forcing through.
Yes, there's a difference between pressing through and forcing through. So true, Susan. Well, we have to stop here, but we will continue with Susan McVea on intuitive sales next week. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I am Monique White of Triumph Services, and this has been The Chrysalis Effect. We will see you right back here next week as we continue the conversation on intuitive sales. Have a great one, everyone. Bye-bye. Do you struggle with fear of the future or with being stressed and overwhelmed? Maybe you're having a hard time moving forward due to lack of discipline and limiting beliefs. Or maybe it's that you don't know where to start and you're afraid you will not overcome your current circumstances to live the life of your dreams. Perhaps you just need a guiding hand to transition into entrepreneurship or to thrive in it. At Triumph Services LLC, we understand all of that, which is why we walk with you and offer the support you need to transform your mind, money, and manifestations to help you achieve your wildest dreams. Our transformational coaching and business consulting services are focused on nurturing the fire and beauty you carry within so that you can make your mark in the world and inspire generations. We want to see you prosper, and we want to see it happen the right way. Schedule a connection call with us by going to bit.ly/evertransform today.